Welcome to my 13 horrifically silly days of Halloween. And today my guest is Carolyn Mauricette. Carolyn, would you please introduce yourself to everybody?
Oh, hi. I'm a programmer from Blood in the Snow Film Festival.
Yes, you are. Anything else about your background you'd like to share?
Well, I've been recently promoted to the Director of Development as well for Blood in the Snow. So, yeah.
Yeah, terrific. Could you tell me a little bit about that role? And then tell me about Blood in the Snow Film Festival in general.
Sure. I'll tell you about the film festival first. So, it's a genre film festival for Canadian genre film. So, we play a lot of horror, sci-fi, specifically Canadian. So, it's either made in Canada. There's Canadian cast and crew. Has to be a Canadian connection. So we have like so many, great Canadian horror filmmakers. So we want to kind of continue that tradition. And it's specifically indie film as well. So,
Ah,
yeah.
may I just insert a little extra question there?
Sure.
How does it compare for those film nerds out there, Canadian film nerds specifically? How does it compare to, say, the CRTC Canadian content or are you how fussy about how much Canadian content are you?
We're not super fussy, just as long as there's like a decent amount of Canadian representation. So
Awesome.
yeah, yeah.
All right. There isn't a specific percentage you're looking for. It's just
No, yeah, just as long as we have like a Canadian connection. And yeah, just the crew, cast, production. So yeah, this has to have a decent amount of Canadian content. So yeah.
right, which allows some Canadian, truly Canadian independent productions probably more of an opportunity to get programmed with you because sometimes the CRTC might be a little stringent, I guess,
Well,
and for some reason might not qualify, but you're totally a Canadian production, so that's good.
yeah.
Yeah.
And also, sometimes our Canadian cast and crew, they have to go where the work is. So they may be working on another production and they have an opportunity to be in a film that isn't like in Canada, but they're still Canadian. And if they want to submit that film, we'll be happy to have it because there is Canadian content there. So yeah.
Awesome.
Mhm.
Okay, so tell me about your role now, your new
Yes.
role.
Yeah, so in my new role, Kelly Michael Stewart, who is the director and founder of Blood in the Snow, he and I have been working, I would say about a year or so, maybe a little bit longer, just on recruiting and developing more diversity for the film festival because we have a pretty good track record in terms of like female filmmakers, indigenous filmmakers, but we just we want more. So, and I think a lot of times there's a lot of film festivals in Toronto. And there's like a lot of niche film festivals. So we just want to kind of encourage more diverse filmmakers and anybody associated with the film industry in Canada to take the leap and submit to us, or just know that we have plenty of room for them. So that's basically what and we also have a program that we're working on now. There'll be more details later on, but
Mhm.
we're just fleshing out some more details some more I guess details on a program we're working on. So you'll
Oh,
hear about
terrific.
that soon. Yeah, yeah.
Does it have anything to do with deadly exposure?
Yeah, to a point. Yeah, to an extent.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Actually, maybe you should take just a quick moment to explain deadly exposure, because
Oh,
I don't think it was explained in my Blood in the Snow post last year, or
oh,
maybe it
okay.
was. Maybe it was, but anyway, it's good to explain it again.
Yeah. So it's an industry market that Kelly started to get filmmakers in front of people they may not think of, like for instance, insurance for
Yeah.
film sets. Last year we had an intimacy coordinator, so that's someone that is on the set if you have like a love scene or there's some nudity or something like that, they have a coordinator to kind of guide you through it and make sure everybody involved is comfortable. So that was a pretty popular one
Oh yeah, that's
last
interesting.
year.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he has panels. There's also like basically industry speed dating. So if you're a filmmaker and you want to get in front of a distributor or somebody that has a connection, it's kind of like a speed networking. So it's
Yeah.
really great, and the filmmakers love it because they wouldn't necessarily get a chance to do that otherwise. So it's a really popular portion of the film festival. Yeah.
Terrific. Thank you for explaining that.
Yeah.
And okay, so this year, Blood in the Snow is going virtual, and it's on Super Channel, correct?
Yes. Yes, it is.
Please tell me how that's working, how one gets into the festival, and so forth.
Well, it's still the same way. You just submit on our
Mhm.
Film Freeway. I mean, we've closed submissions now, but
Yes.
you just normally submit. And because of the pandemic, obviously was a bit of an issue to keep everybody safe. So Kelly had the opportunity to talk to the people at Super Channel, and they had a great offer. And he's like, well, it doesn't really compromise anything, and especially with his vision, he very much likes it to be an accessible film festival, because we usually have it at the Royal Cinema in Toronto, and it's a beautiful old cinema. I mean, you've been there, right?
Oh
So
yes. Mhm.
yeah, and it's gorgeous and the staff is great, but obviously we can't do it. So when this opportunity came up, Kelly just thought, okay, well that works out really well, because Super Channel is also treating the filmmakers quite well. So it just works out for everyone. And Kelly is 100% always looking out for the filmmaker, making sure that it's to their benefit. So it's a film festival for fans, but also for the filmmakers, because Kelly's also produced his own film,
Mhm.
Late Night Double Feature, and I think it's on Amazon. I believe it's on Amazon Prime, but it's so much fun. And
Yeah.
yeah, so he knows about being on the other side of the camera. So yeah.
Okay, before I continue with my questions, I just wanted to clarify now, how does the audience get into the festival on Super
Oh,
Channel?
yes. So Super Channel is a subscription channel.
Mhm.
So basically, I believe it's like something around $15.
Okay.
So you just subscribe to them, and
Mhm.
basically that's the cost of one film if
Right.
we were to have the film festival normally. And
Mhm.
you get to see the whole programming
Wow.
of bits. So it's a good deal. And you can access it, I think, here in Canada on Amazon Prime or with your cable provider,
Okay.
if you have cable.
Mhm.
So it's a pretty good deal, and it'll span from October the 28th to November the 7th. So
Mhm.
over several days.
Right.
So you'll have a chance to see features. We have a shorts. Believe we have 5 shorts programs. So they're all categorized like emerging screams for new filmmakers or filmmakers who have just kind of got the ball rolling. We have Funny Frights, that's a really popular program with really funny shorts. Like they're so ridiculous.
Funny, but
Yeah.
still genre or horrifying in some
Yeah,
way, but funny.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Which is my main thing here. So
Yes.
it's a program that I'm totally behind. Not that I'm not behind all of them, but a little extra for Funny Fright.
Yeah.
Okay, so we are filming this before October 1st,
Mhm.
but we are posting this October 26th. So by then the lineup will have been announced,
Yes.
correct? But
Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
still wrapping that up. You haven't quite figured out everybody yet?
Yeah, because it's just it's a little bit different this year, so we're still trying to get our final lineup nailed down. So yeah, we're still working on it, but
Okay.
stay tuned.
Yes, yes. And I'm I'll have a link of some sort to your announcement, because
Yes.
by the time this post is up, it will have been up for 25 days already. So,
Yeah.
so great. Okay. All right. So veering away from Blood in the Snow for a bit, I
Mhm.
always ask about horror comedy and B-movie faves
Yes.
of my guests, every one of my guests, to this 13 Horrifically Silly Days of Halloween series. And
Yeah.
often, even if it's not Halloween, I'm asking. So what are what would be your favorite horror comedy of all time? And if you have any that you like that are Canadian selections, all the better.
Well, to be quite honest, I'm not a huge fan of horror comedies, but just because I think there's a fine line,
Yep.
it's kind of hard to mesh the two.
Mhm.
Sometimes it's overly silly, and then sometimes you're just like, I don't get it. But
Yeah,
it's
it's a
just
hard.
that's just me.
It's
Yeah,
it's a real matter of taste, totally.
yeah, it really is.
Yeah.
But like I know for sure the one that really stands out is a film we played last year.
Mhm.
The director, her name is Lisa Ovies, and it's called Puppet Killer. And you saw it, right,
Oh
Leslie?
yes, and I reviewed it, and I've done a few interviews actually, and posts
Yes.
with the filmmakers and the writer.
Oh,
Yeah, it's a great film.
it's so good. Like I just remember when they had submitted it and I was watching, I was like, what on earth is this? And then by the end I was just dying. It was so funny. And the filmmakers are so lovely. They're so
Oh yeah.
sweet. They're so much fun. So warm and down to earth.
Hmm.
Um, and I know my boyfriend is very picky about horror comedies as well. And when he saw that, he's like, "That's my favorite of this year." So he was all over that film. So I have to say that one is the top of my list.
Hmm.
And then with B movies, I love I think like Horror Express, that one with Christopher Lee and Peter Cushing, and they're on the
Oh
train and they have that frozen an alien creature and then he
yeah.
starts running amok on the train. I love that movie so much. It's so ridiculous. And then Telly Savalas is in it, and there's a poodle. And you're like, there's a poodle on the train.
I forget
It's insane.
what route that, like, is it like a route like the Orient Express or
I
something like that
I
that it's
think so.
taken
Yeah,
something
like isn't it? It's through Russia, and yeah, I think
something.
so. Yeah,
Yeah,
so ridiculous. Yeah,
yeah.
and then the Monster Club. That's like an '80s horror film,
Yes, yeah.
and yeah, it's based on a book, I believe, and so Vincent Price is in it, and UB40 does some of the scoring.
Sweet.
And it's just so '80s, and I love it because it's an anthology film, and who doesn't love an anthology film, right?
Yeah, and I haven't
Yeah.
seen it yet, so I have to check it out. It's a Vincent Price film I haven't seen. There's only
Oh,
a few of those left, I think, that I haven't devoured
yeah.
yet. So,
There's there's one of my favorite segments. It's called the Hume Goo. It's so bizarre. It's about a producer who is looking for a set, and then he happens on this really kind of rural, um, tucked away town, and it turns out that it's a lot more than it looks. And he gets trapped there, and that's all I'll say. But it's one of
okay,
my favorite ones. The ending is so good, so I highly recommend. Yeah,
okay, The Monster
yeah,
Club, awesome.
yeah.
Now, about Canadian indie horror, list
Yes.
your faves. We're just talking horror now.
Okay, horror. Let me think. Like I've got oh, there's so many. There's like Audrey Cummings,
Anything
who
she's done?
she's
Yeah.
she's so amazing. She was our Vanguard recipient last year.
Yes, for She
Um,
Never Died, I think.
yeah, She
Yeah.
Never Died. Yeah, and she's also done Berkshire County, and Darken. Let's see. I think, oh yeah, Black Christmas. Obviously, it's like
Mm,
a
yes,
classic.
it is.
Anything by Cronenberg. I love
Uh,
Cronenberg so much. One of
mm,
my favorites is Crash because it's
yes.
so
Oh,
weird.
yeah.
I guess
I was
that's
just gonna
kind of
say,
horror adjacent, but yeah.
but still, no,
Um,
it's weird, and
yeah.
it's enough. It's close enough.
Yeah, yeah. And the Black Fawn guys, that movie Bite, Chad Archibald, he directed that. That one's so gross, and I love a bit of gooey,
Yeah.
gooiness in my horror.
Right.
What else? Who else am I thinking of? Oh yeah, this one's kind of like horror. It's Afrofuturism, but it actually has like some horror elements, some ghosts and
Ooh,
spirits. It's called Brown Girl in the Ring by Sharon Lewis. Yeah.
yeah.
And that's an adaptation of Nayla Hopkinson's book. And it's just such a great movie. And, she did it on such a tight budget and had such trouble getting that film made. I think it took her like 12 or 15 years to get that
Oh,
film made. So that's kind of one that's close to my heart.
very cool.
Yeah, I think that's, well, there's so many more, but
Well, speaking of Brown Girl in the Ring and that
Mhm,
kind of thing, I,
mhm,
I wanted to take a sec to talk about strides made and or not
mhm.
made, or not
Right.
enough made, for
Yeah.
diverse casts and crews in the horror industry. And women in horror too, if you wanted to take a
Mhm.
moment. I know they're huge topics, but
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah. I mean, they're making some strides. Like you see more of it in the States, with Jordan Peele
yeah.
and Nia DaCosta's doing Candyman, which looks
Mhm.
so good. Like the
Mhm.
trailers are just blowing my mind, so I can't even imagine the
Yeah.
movie. Yeah, I mean, there's some strides, but I mean, here, I don't know. I think that people are, they're seeing funding for documentaries. This is the thing
Yeah.
I've noticed over the last year, and they get the money for documentaries, but they may have an idea for a genre film,
Yeah.
but they're not really getting the funding. So I think that there needs to be some work
On the
towards that.
mindset. Yeah, like
Yeah,
of the
change the
funders.
mindset.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
people supporting. Yeah, yeah.
yeah. Like even if there was like some sort of a folkloric fund for, to represent horror that way.
Mm,
Like we had a few filmmakers do like folkloric shorts. I
cool.
believe one was called Tick Tick, and that was a Filipino folklore.
Yeah.
That was a really great film.
Huh.
So I would like to see more funding go towards that.
Yeah.
Um, Also, there's Black Women in Film Canada, and they do a great job of mentoring Black female filmmakers,
Mhm.
so that they have like a good base to go out there and do their films. Um, but I'm not seeing too much in terms of genre and people of color and BIPOC.
Yeah.
I would like to see more, and I would like to see the funding kind of top up and let people know that there is room for genre, because there's always that argument that people always treat horror as lowbrow, even though we have like some brilliant new wave horror coming in.
Yeah.
It's still got a bit of a stigma, so it would be
Yeah.
nice to get some funding for that.
And
Yeah.
get past the stigma too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah.
And now speaking about women in horror
Mhm.
generally, there how do you feel about some of the issues that are out there right now? There's like regarding some harassment and things like that that have just been like in particular with, I mean, it's rampant throughout for women in film, but women
Yeah.
in horror in particular, I've just been noticing some trends on social media and things like that. Anything you wanted to say about that?
Well, I think it's good that people are speaking out now.
Yeah,
Women are speaking out because it seems like it's been a long time, a long ongoing thing, and people are too afraid to speak out. So it's good that people are speaking out. In terms of bullying and harassment. Hopefully it'll make perpetrators think twice about actually behaving badly and
yeah,
harassing people and basically criminal activity on set and elsewhere.
yeah.
It would be nice if if it made people think. I think the next step is to have, consequences.
Yeah, real
I don't,
consequences. Yeah,
yeah, like I see people talking about it, but there's nothing really like, no one's really, as far as I know, gotten in trouble, and
Yeah. Not yet.
aside from aside from walking away from the horror community, like they do
Right.
need, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
It seems to me that perhaps the horror community, because it's some people might look down on it a little, or
Mm,
consider it a bit ghetto or whatever,
right.
which I'm sorry, I love about it anyway, and is more likely to be accessible to indie filmmakers, or perhaps more enticing. It seems perhaps like that might be where it's it makes it a little more vulnerable to these kinds of issues, perhaps, than other
Yeah.
parts of the film industry. Again, it is everywhere, but I wonder if horror, it's just easier for it to crop up there, easier to hide it there, because of the lower budgets, indie films, people trying to break in
Mhm.
anywhere, and maybe horror first, things like that. I don't know if you agree.
Yeah, there's probably a lot of room for, people to be, lots of room for people to be harassed and like
Mhm.
not, I mean, yeah, because if I remember, actually, I used to be a makeup artist a million years ago, and I worked on some indie film sets, and the one experience where there was like the first AD was just yelling at me, just yelling at me, until one of the actors was like, you don't have to yell at her.
It's
you
okay.
know
Say
yeah, like
it.
I usually let, like, stuff like that, because I didn't know him personally. I didn't really bother him. Just like, this guy's kind of, lost it. But I was just like, I'm just doing my job, and I'm not really responding.
Mhm.
But I think it got on like an actor's nerves. So, that was a very indie
Right.
film shoot, and I just thought, this guy, and I believe he's gone on to, I forget his name, but I wouldn't say it anyway, but I think he's gone on to fairly big things now. And I'm just like, oh,
Wonder if
interesting
he's
how someone that obnoxious actually, moved up the ladder. It seemed he moved up quite easily.
yeah.
But yeah, just witnessing that myself, I can only imagine how far people can take it. So yeah,
Mhm.
I mean, there is that aspect, but I think also there's a lot of I find, like, the indie filmmakers I've met through bits, they're all I would say they're all pretty stand-up people, and I don't think that they would let that happen if they
Okay.
had that, if they knew about it and they had it in their power. I know that, especially now, for instance, an intimacy coordinator,
Yeah.
that sort of thing's being put into place.
Mhm.
There might even be, hopefully there would be, like, funding to have, like, some sort of a mediator, or kind of a watchdog, if you will, to make sure that people are all feeling safe, and okay to come to work. But
Right.
again, now with the pandemic, you have to be physically safe.
Yeah, there's
So
extra layers here now. Yeah.
yeah,
Of
so
safety.
yeah, I mean, that might actually help. Yeah, I don't know.
True
Yeah.
enough. True enough. And just a quick little sidebar. How do you feel about the film industry trying to come back, and COVID-19
Hmm.
is still definitely out there?
Oh yeah, it's a bit of a, it's going to be something really interesting to navigate. I still have friends that are makeup artists, and they've gone through certification, um, to be on set during this time, during a pandemic.
Mhm.
So they've got their face shields, they've got everything set up. Um, there's so many people that work in the film industry here in Toronto, like
Oh yeah.
across Canada, and it's their livelihood. I know someone else who's in wardrobe, and she's basically on hiatus for
Yeah.
however long.
And how long is
So
that affordable? Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
so yeah, I don't know. I mean, people are trying to get back to work, but I actually saw a picture. It was online, and I think it was Tilda Swinton, and she was on a set, and they
Right.
had like these weird hold up, like a clear face mask, but it was kind of like on a stick. she was holding it up again, and they're like, we're on set. And I'm like, oh my God. So
Weird.
they're working around it, I guess. Yeah.
As best they can. Yeah. And I mean,
Yeah.
it's just the, between safety and the economy, this delicate balance. And
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
hard.
I mean, there's going to be a lot of quarantine films, let me tell you. I mean, have you seen Host from Shudder? Have you seen that film?
Yes.
Yeah, so maybe that's how it is.
Yeah. Yeah, and there was, of course, the Roger Corman filmmaking challenge that he did, quarantine filmmaking challenge back in April.
Yes.
That I got to do for you. But my 2 minute, well, they're all 2 minutes. That was the thing, right? And like thousands of entries. And so very cool.
Yeah. I watched yours. I liked yours a lot. It was really good. I watched it. It was really
combining
good.
children's literature with horror, naturally.
Yeah, no, it was so good.
Thank you. It was a lot of fun to make. And it was just good to make something again. Not that, for me, it wasn't just the quarantine. I hadn't made anything for quite a while. Like the most recent thing was just a bit of a web series, sort of, kind of thing to help promote a movie I'd done many years ago, but that was back in 2016. And then the movie I did was back in 2004. So I haven't, it was just great to do a movie, even if it was a little 8-minute one.
Yeah, it's true. You kind of have to get your feet wet again. And yeah, I feel for everybody that works in the industry, because it's so tough. It's so tough trying to navigate right now. Yeah,
absolutely. It's just, now. Okay, well, last but not least of my questions is, and maybe you could tell me what you usually do for Halloween. This is the 13 horrifically silly days of Halloween, after all. But what you usually do versus what you'll probably do this year, because Halloween's bound to be a bit different.
Yeah. When I was younger, I'd always go to a costume party or something. Yeah. But I don't know. I just kind of lost the I guess the feel for a party. Obviously, we're not going to do that now. I'll probably be watching one of our films, because this year, because Bits Falls, we're actually doing around Halloween, so that'll be really fun. Mm-hmm. Maybe just dressing up for an online party. I don't know. Yeah.
Well, that sounds good. I don't have it totally sorted myself, other than this blog series. Yeah. But all right. Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for chatting with me. It's been great fun.
Oh no, thank you so much for asking. Oh my gosh, so nice to see you too, because I saw you last year, and I'm like, it's just nice to see people again.
Yeah, even if it is via, a long distance video thing. Yes, it totally is. Nice to meet you at a socially distanced, responsible
exactly
way. Thank you. And I'll leave all sorts of details about Blood in the Snow in the blog itself, so all those of you watching will be able to access information easily. So thank you again, Carolyn.
Okay, thanks so much.